The absolute main line of this variation begins with the move 5 e takes d6, and this is a far more safe option for black. And when black does play this, white players should realise that the idea of the variation is not to be able to blow white off the board, but simply play slowly. There's a lot of manoeuvring in the main lines, which begin with, for example, h3 after knight c3, bishop e7, playing with h3, bishop e2, bishop e3, playing like this with white. Black looks to slowly outmaneuver white in a lot of positions. As a result, if you're playing that kind of player, I think a lot of the time he will be uncomfortable playing against really sharp positions. And a line I've looked at and feel is really double-edged, and I'll make it clear now, there are chances definitely for both sides in this. So there is a slight risk element, but I feel like white should be fine at least, and there is more opportunity for black to go wrong than white, and that's to play after the move bishop e3 castles to play queen f3. Now this queen f3 and bishop e3 idea actually can be seen against the c takes d6 lines, but I always felt that with black being able to fianchetto and having the open c file, it makes white's task a bit more difficult, especially if he wants to castle queenside. In this position, however, though, the c file is closed and white can develop quite rapidly. And well, the idea behind queen f3 is self-evident. We're going to castle queenside and try and crush black. Simple as that. There are a lot of ideas with c5 as well in the air, especially when the rook's on d1 to pin the queen. And black has to be accurate, otherwise he can be blown off the board pretty quickly. So after queen f3, knight c6, castles queenside, we reach an important position where black has to decide what to do. There are pretty much three main moves here. The move f5, I think, was championed by Anthony Miles back in the 70s. The f5 move makes a lot of sense here because f4 is a humongous threat, taking advantage of the pin. So here we have to do something against f4, and even though g3 is a possibility, I really like the idea of playing the move knight h3. The reason being, I like developing pieces and stopping threats. So here, after knight h3, black should play bishop e6. f4 doesn't work because, well, there's a few reasons why it doesn't work. You could probably take with either piece, but let's just assume we take with the knight. And now if g5, simply queen g3 gets out of the pin and pins the king. So given that f4 doesn't work, and also the other reason I like knight f4 is that knight h3 is that when black inevitably plays bishop e6, we play knight f4, often hitting the bishop with tempo, and then able to secure that knight with h4, and we get this nice little kingside bind. So bishop e6, b3 here because the pawn was on pre, and now if, for example, a5, I like knight f4, bishop f7, and now playing bishop d3. And this is an unexplored position, I believe, where black will be looking to come down here, but he's got to do something about this f5 pawn immediately. And white might even be able to think about playing a4 himself to stop this attack. Also, on the king side, the way of opening up with g4, opening up the g line, is also very interesting. Totally double-edged, this position. It's very difficult to say, give a clear assessment, but certainly there are chances for both sides after f5. Another move is to play bishop f6, but my gut feeling for this move is that it's asking for trouble, because the bishop on f6 often gets hit by g4, h4, and g5. So if it doesn't have an immediate threat, which it doesn't here, I don't quite believe it. And actually g4 and h4 are both perfectly interesting moves. But I like g4 because after, let's say, bishop e6, b3 again, and now d5, we can play c5, knight c8, and h4. And it just feels like white has got a ready-made attack. Bishop takes h4 would be unadvisable due to queen h3. And you know, my gut tells me white should have a little something there. So the only other move is bishop e6, and this is definitely the main line. And here we should play quite precisely with white. He's threatening the c4 pawn, so here in this particular position, the move c5 is a good move. And black has got a decision to make. Where does he move the knight? Of course, he can't really take this way because that opens up an attack, and that's very uncomfortable indeed. Also, even the move d5 here might be stronger. But certainly d takes c5 is impossible. d5 might actually be the right move there. Black should keep the files closed. Let's say he plays knight d7. This is quite a passive move, but in many ways I can see the logic in it. You attack c5 and also you try and bring the knight over to the queen side. d5 doesn't quite work because the knight can hop into e5, but I really like this move, queen f4. Must admit, not my own move. Help from my friend Mr. Ribka. But makes a lot of sense actually, because we want to bring our knight out to a natural square on f3, and we want to threaten d5. So I really like the move, and black is rather cramped still. So I feel like white should have something here. Again, totally unexplored, and this is a unique kind of position. The other move is to play knight c8, but I think knight c8 is way too passive. It looks incorrect putting the knight on the back rank here. And bishop a6 might be a really awkward move to try and have to face. It may even be the case that that isn't even necessary, but gut feeling tells me knight c8, it doesn't threaten anything and it disconnects the rooks. So the only real way to move is to play knight c4, since after d5, at the very least, black can play knight e5, and he's probably doing all right. So we don't want to concede the e5 square here too quickly. But bishop f4 is a good move, and this has been seen before. And now black really only has one decent move, and that's why choosing this variation for white, I feel, is a good idea, simply because if black has only got one move here, but there are a lot of ways to err. So for example, if black plays d takes c5, well, that actually loses to d5. This is a forcing variation. That's a fork of the knight, of course, and the bishop. And after knight d4, what else? Well, white has got this nice move, d takes e6. And if knight takes f3, well, thank you very much. I'm winning lots of material. And if f takes e6, will quite simply will have that guy, thank you very much. And after this forcing variation here, please go through this slowly in your own time. Well, white has got two pieces for the rook, and in my opinion is standing very well indeed here. So basically d takes c5 is impossible. Also bishop f6 looks wrong, because after d5 black is in a bit of trouble. Knight c5, queen e2, knight g6, bishop e3, and black has to go in for this, but looks as though he has to give up a piece. And well, if he can survive it, he can survive it, but I just don't believe this for black at all. So I think the tactics work in white's favour there as well, meaning that there's only really one move. And this is a testing move, g5, and having looked at a number of stuff, I'm still not clear as to exactly what the best route is here. Queen h5, queen g3 are possible moves. But an interesting move also is bishop d3. And the point is this sets a nasty little trap. If black takes the bishop on f4, you can play the move queen e4. And that is absolutely devastating. f5 is the only way really to stop mate, but this is awful for black, winning another piece. I think the value in this system lies in the fact that black has to find g5 here, and it's not the sort of move that you want to play, opening up the king so much. In that main line with bishop d3, the best move certainly is to play knight takes d4. But after queen h5, threatening mate, f5, bishop takes, rook takes, bishop f7, queen h6, g takes f4, and now knight h3. This is all, a lot of this is forcing. My feeling on it is that it's totally unclear. Black has got the two bishops, but white is pretty mobile, and black's got to be careful that something doesn't happen quite quickly on the king's side. Very difficult, again, to say with any clear conviction as to what's going on. But if you're looking for a mess and you think that your opponent will struggle to find the correct way with g5, then again, this is great, and you can really catch a number of players out in this system. So that's my recommendation for something a bit more exciting, a bit more sharp. Of course, there are many other lines against the Alekhine opening which are perfectly reasonable or less risky than this particular line. Certainly, if you're looking for something a bit double-edged, I really believe this could be an interesting opportunity for you.